Welcome, welcome. Hi, my name is Christine Crow, and today I'm here to talk about some loopholes when it's to do with silver and tax and things like that. And this is referring to UK, the United Kingdom retirees, for example, or anyone that is, looking at semi-retirement, for example. So there are some loopholes for all of us, not just because you're retired, but it's something which I've been aware of. So good evening, everyone. I really want to start off really by just going through a minute or two. I would love for you to watch the replays if you're not watching the live. So if you're able to watch the replays, then go ahead, and you can also look at this in one of our other videos as well, previous videos, our playlist. I'd like you to go through some things because this will give you a really good understanding about silver and gold as well. So drop a comment here if you are already a silver stacker, for example, or maybe you're brand new to this. I'd love to know. And stay to the end because I'm going to pin a comment, but I do have here as well a free stacking download for you. It's a free stacking calculator for you to download as well. And there's also a VAT cheat sheet as well. So welcome everyone. Let's get started. So tonight's live is especially if you're in the UK and you are a saver or a retiree or semi-retired, for example. Now, this is a conversation that could literally save you thousands of pounds over the next 10 years. So, as you know, I'm Christine, and if you've been following this channel, then you will know that I'm starting to talk a lot about silver stacking, for example, gold, as part of the smart retirement strategies, especially during uncertain times. Now, I created my vision beyond my vision, which was a 10-year vision, and I'm now on my next phase of my journey in my life, which is my retirement, semi-retirement, planning for semi-retirement, wealth building strategies, helping those that are looking to learn about that as well. I've been a coach for over 35 years, but I'm aware that we need to look at these things as well. It's very important that we start making sure that we're building wealth. So here's the shocking truth. For example, most UK savers are paying 20% VAT on their silver, which is completely unnecessary in some cases. But there's a perfectly legal way to avoid this. And tonight, I'm going to be showing you how to do this. The exact coins that are VAT free, but there's other methods as well. So the trusted UK dealers list, yes, they do exist, and how to buy without any Revenue and Customs penalties, for example. Sounds good? Give me a yes in the chat if you're ready to hear. I'm going to go into a bit about my personal story, because let me tell you that how I found out about this was in 2007 when I first started stacking and doing my gold and silver scrap parties, for example. And I brought really some beautiful scrap jewelry, for example, for gold and silver. But I also brought coins as well. But with one of them, I got stung with a 20% VAT. That's $200 VAT, £200 VAT on just a £1,000 worth of silver. And that taught me a lesson. I had to look at what was going on here because it was dead money. The profit was being taken out of the VAT, for example. So, but then I discovered that certain silver coins are VAT exempt under the HM Revenue and Custom rules because they are classed as legal tender, not just bullion, for example. So I'll explain this to you in a moment. Also, let's bust the myth here. Dealers probably won't tell you this because, to be honest, they're there to make margin, selling you the high VAT silver because it's more money for them, for example. But the main thing here is that we can purchase silver, but I'm also going to go into some explanations as well. So let me break this down for you. So silver bars and generic rounds, for example, these are seen as commodities and attract 20% in the UK. So sadly, there's no loophole here. Silver coins, legal tender exemptions, UK legal tender coins like Britannia, Queen's Beast, for example, series, Tudor Beast silver coins, for example. These are classed as legal tender and exempt from VAT. So when you buy them as an investment coin, not jewelry or collectibles, and I just want to say on this note, I am not a financial investor at all. I am a human being that is just learned through their own experience and doing things, so that I am aware of some of these loopholes because of the trap that I fell into, for example. So if you are looking for financial advice, then you need to seek financial experts that can give you that financial advice. I am just a human being, a normal human being that is interested in silver and gold, for example, and legacy, as well as retirement, for example, as well as semi-retirement, building wealth, and to really learn about wealth, because that is something that I haven't been focusing on for the last 35 years because I have been building my business, but not looking at the psychology of building wealth, for example. So this is something which I'm very fascinated about. Plus, I did enjoy doing this in 2007. It made me feel really good. I don't know about you, but when you're holding a piece of silver or gold in your hand, it feels really good because you can see it. It's not paper. It's not, a document somewhere. It's something that you can physically see. And that is a big difference, for example. Well, for me anyway, it is. So these are, back to this story, these are classed as legal tenders and exempt from VAT when you buy them as an investment, not jewelry or collectibles, for example. So why? Because the HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, for example, treats them as currency, and currency is VAT exempt. Now, there was many years ago, we would have coins, silver, gold, for example, in a bag, for example, and we would pay for things with coins, for example. So really, it's going back really to those days when that was law, for example, because gold and silver is a monetary system, and I believe it's now going to become the currency of the future in many ways, for example. So I also want to give you a bonus here. These coins are also capital gains tax exempt as well, because they are UK legal tenders as well. So if you have, so you save VAT and the future capital gains tax if you sell it at a profit, for example. So some trusted dealers. Now, where do you actually find them without getting ripped off? So I've done some research, and there are some trusted UK stackers, for example, dealers, and there's the Royal Mint, official, but often the price is higher. There's also Atkinson's bullion, for example, reliable, fast delivery, and there's Chard's coin and bullion dealers, excellent for bulk buying, for example, and there's Blair's bullion that are very competitive. So some tips here: always compare premium over spot price, for example, not just the total price. And watch out for shipping costs, because some dealers offer free delivery for for over $250, for example, or pounds, for example. So drop in the comments if you want me to send you the full list of dealers, for example. Now, let's pause for a minute. I want to ask you a question in the chat, for example. Can you store silver at home safely? Because you can do that. You know, we're on this live here, and I'm sure that some of you have stored or are currently storing silver and gold safely at home, because you can do that as long as you don't tell people that that's what you're doing, and it's in a safe place that is not easily accessible, for example. So I prefer to see the physical rather than have things on paper. And it's your choice, your decision, for example. But you've got to look at this for you, for example, for what's best for you. But in order for you to have it physically, it takes time if you do have it on a ETF, for example, because it's taking weeks. When I say weeks, like 8 weeks, it could even be 3 months for you to actually receive the physical item, for example. So think about some of these things that you need to think about. So retirement strategy. So how much should you stack? Well, let's go deeper. I did a video earlier today and it's uploaded, so it'd be good if you could watch that and go back to that, because I talk about your retirement strategy. How much should you hold? Modest savers have about 100 to 250 ounces, for example, but serious hedge individuals have 500 to 1,000 ounces, for example. Wealth protection now, they have more like 1,500 plus ounces of gold or silver or both, for example. So this is why I have created for you, for being here today and for whenever you listen to this video, for example, the free stacker calculator spreadsheet to help you to plan your monthly stacking goals. Check out the video that I did earlier today. I'm going to put the link here after this live, for example. You'll be able to download the stacker calculator spreadsheet here in the description as well, just to really get you thinking about things and to make some notes as well, and to really plan strategically about saving. This is a ounce by ounce type of thing. You know, it's like a day by day thing, month by month, year by year. You know, when you're looking at saving silver or gold, you're looking at something that you want to do for about 5 to 10 years. It's a long game, but it's well worth it, for example, because gold and silver, they stand the test of time. You know, the currency, the cash is dwindling. That's why everything's so expensive, inflation, etc. And with the uncertainties that we have at the moment, you know, with the stock markets going up and down and the tariffs that are being put on around the world, you know, it's obviously affecting everything. So now is the time to really start planning, because at the end of the day, you don't know what your pension amount is going to be, because there could be some ramifications from this, for example, with regards to the economy, with regards to the uncertainty. So obviously I'm speculating, but you know, check it with your financial advisor what they think as well, because they are experienced. I'm just telling you as a human being, for example. So what I want to ask you, because there's some things that you can do, and there's a site here which I have got here open. It's the bullion buy post, for example, and there's some information here regarding what I'm saying. So I'm going to put the link here in the chat, but I'm also going to put it in the description as well, so that you can see for yourself, because you know, I'm not just talking from, you know, the top of my head, that this is something that I've been doing research on for quite some time. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you, so check that out. Now, what is the most really important thing is that with regards to the loopholes, there's quite a few loopholes. So you want to be looking at building a strategy, a vault strategy, and to create your own vault. You know, the banks, central banks, the governments, they are really, it's like gold and silver. They're acting as if gold and silver is going out of fashion, and you've got to get it before it's gone, you know. So the demand for silver is outweighing the supply. They've only got 20 years of supply of silver, for example. So unless they discover a new mine, and this is globally that this is affecting, so there's a lot of more growth for silver now. We've got the electronic vehicles that use silver. You can't use any substitute, for example. Then there's the solar panels, renewable energy, AI, the robots, factories, military of defense equipment, a lot of it is silver. They can't use substitutes. So with regards to AI and the medical equipment as well, silver is being used for that as well. But with regards to AI and the robots now becoming part of our lives, can't believe I'm actually saying this, but it's true, for example. And with regards to electronic vehicles, because of the rule that in 5 years' time that everyone has to have an electronic vehicle, for example. Now that is creating more demand than what would have normally have happened, for example. So now every country or state around the world is on this race for AI and building with AI chips and, you know, robots, etc. So it is making the demand even more than what it normally would be. Same with electronic vehicles, for example. That is going to take a lot of silver, for example. So all of this is using up more than what we usually would have done because of this new thing that's happened. Same with tech, technology, same with Apple. All of these organizations, they need silver in order to function, for example, because without it, it would end up being like kryptonite for them. They wouldn't be billionaires, would they, for example? So this is the reason why silver is so strong right now. And even though it's really, really low compared to gold, because gold is at 3,100, for example, dollars per ounce, whereas silver is under $33 per ounce, for example, but yet silver is going to be like the tortoise that won the race because of the demand is getting stronger. So they're going to need more silver to meet all of these needs, and it's worldwide. It's worldwide. It's not just, in a certain location. So everybody's got to speed up and create and produce more to create the demand that's needed for the AI and the data centers, etc. So this is the reason why silver is going to end up being like the tortoise that won the race, for example. So this is why I'm saying about building up on your silver stock. Buying, even if you buy one coin a month, for example, at $35 a month, you're building up, because when that price skyrockets, it's going to really go high, for example. And silver always follows gold, but gold is always ahead. Silver's like the poor relative, but I believe this time that silver's going to actually win the race. So look out for that. Because the demand is high, and when the demand becomes high, it becomes specialized because it's hard to get. So then the price goes up, doesn't it? So bear that in mind. Okay, so let's go back to the discussion of the silver, for example, the retirement. Now, there will be some links here for you to download some of the information, for example. So now, with regards to VAT on scrap, do you think that you have to pay VAT on scrap? I'd love to see your comments in the chat, because you don't. On scrap gold, on scrap silver, because at some point it already was VAT'd, for example. So just bear that in mind. That is a loophole. Now, I'll explain my story. In 2007, me and my husband was doing scrap gold and silver business. We were hosting, or we would go to a host house, for example, and we would do gold and silver, where we would purchase scrap gold, and that's broken jewelry. That's like if someone's got one earring, for example, and it's no good to them, so people would bring their broken jewelry, for example, and it could be a broken chain, it could be a broken earring or an earring back. There'd be all little things that people would bring, and we would weigh them, we'd test them with the acid testing. We'd have our eye loops, and then test to make sure that it is real, for example. And we would do a party like once a month, for example, and then we built up enough gold and silver to actually turn them into bars, for example. Now, like I said, with scrap, you do not need to pay VAT on this. So if you're buying scrap gold or silver and smelting it yourself, that means you're melting it down yourself, here's what happens legally in the UK. VAT on scrap gold and silver, raw material. Scrap silver will have VAT if you're buying it from a VAT registered dealer like a jeweler or a pawnbroker or a bullion scrap dealer. However, private sales from individuals usually don't have VAT because private sellers are not VAT registered. So people that you're buying from, they're not VAT registered. And if you can, which I'm going to be doing videos about how to smelt your own scrap jewelry, for example. So we will be showing you that. We'll be showing you how to test them. But I want to, get you geared up for this. Either you can buy it yourself or you can get the scrap gold or silver, because you're then purchasing it for 30%, up to 30% less than what the spot price is. So that also is where your profitability is as well. And then if you can smelt it down yourself, because you have to be careful, of course, for example, because it is quite dangerous, for example, and at that point you can legally buy scrap gold from private individuals VAT free. And the good news is if you buy privately, you avoid VAT at the point of purchase. The bad news is if you buy from businesses, expect VAT to be added to scrap price. Okay? That's why I was saying we was hosting gold and silver parties and going to people's homes and they would be the host. We would bring like a bottle of wine and some crisp, peanuts or whatever, and then the host would invite their friends who would bring their broken jewelry. We would purchase them. We would give the host a small amount of money, say probably 20 quid, for example, or they were just quite happy just to have their friends around and bottles of wine and crisp and peanuts, for example. And also they had scrap jewelry that they wanted to sell, so it was a win-win situation. So if you do smelt it yourself, for example, smelting your own silver or gold does not change the VAT status retroactively, for example. But here's the kicker: the raw metal you create from smelting is still considered unrefined bullion, not legal tender coins. I'll say it again: the raw metal that you create from smelting your own is considered unrefined bullion, not legal tender coins. So the finished metal would not become VAT exempt unless you refine it to investment grade bullion bars, usually 99.9 purity, and register with the HM Revenue and Custom as VAT exempt precious metal dealer, for example. So in simple terms, you can smelt your own for personal stacking, private user. Because at the end of the day, gold is gold and silver is silver. And if this is for your retirement, it's a win-win situation. So that if you become a dealer or you sell to VAT registered businesses, then VAT becomes again, for example. So this is good news for you as a stacker. If you're keeping it as part of your personal portfolio, you do not have to pay VAT after smelting because you've already handled that part at the point of purchase or brought VAT privately, because the person who you brought it from already did pay for VAT, if that makes sense. So you're not going to be paying for it again, for example. So we'll go into this. So are you exempt if you buy scrap privately plus smelt it, for example? Yes. If you buy from private clients, no VAT at source, smelt it yourself. When I say smelt it, I mean not smell it, but melt it down yourself, and store for personal investment, no VAT. But if you buy scrap from a VAT registered dealer, VAT is charged up front. So you see the difference here? These are the loopholes that I'm talking to you about. Now, my husband was very clued up on these things many years ago, and he was doing it in 2007, and he was the one that was doing these types of things. But I also know, and I've read up about it, and you'll be able to see from the link that I've put into the chat as well. So I've got a bonus for this life, and if you really are serious about stacking, buying scrap gold or silver from private individuals, then smelting and refining yourself is one of the most cost-effective methods. However, it won't magically turn into VAT exempt legal tender unless you mint your own coins. So I'm going to go through with you. There's a couple of links here for you to have a look at as well. There's a way that you do it, and at the end of the day, gold is gold and silver is silver, for example. So, summary. So, scenario. You buy scrap gold and silver from a private individual. Does VAT apply? No, for example. If you buy from a VAT registered dealer, yes, VAT does apply, for example. Don't take my word for this, you've got to do your own research as well. If you're smelting for personal use, melting the gold and silver down for personal use, for example, no additional VAT after purchase. If you are a dealer, for example, so if you sell and smelted the metal as a dealer, then yes, you must charge VAT, unless you are VAT exempt as a dealer, for example. So smelt and mint as legal tender coins, they are required officially to be licensed, not for home use, for example. And I'm speaking as if you're an individual doing these things for yourself. So would you like me to give you a PDF, which I call a visual cheat sheet for viewers? And it just talks about, the VAT status, scrap versus legal tender, cost breakdown calculator, scrap metal price versus VAT, free coins. This can be a great lead for you, for example. So download the links that's in the chat there, for example, in the description, and let me know what you think. Are you a stacker? Are you looking at doing an investment, for example? Because these are really hot questions that people have. And, you know, it's looking at these. So people ask these questions. What if I just buy scrap gold and melt it myself? Which is what I talked about. Can I avoid VAT legally? And the answer is yes. But with a few important details like I've broken down to you, and I hope that that was clear, for example. So if you are buying scrap, silver, gold, from a private individual, like someone clearing out old jewelry or a car boot sale or an online marketplace, you typically won't pay VAT at all because private sellers aren't VAT registered. So this is a smart way for you to acquire at a lower cost. You can then smelt it yourself at home if you've got the right equipment, which I will be going through that in another video, for example, for personal investment. No extra VAT applies because you already handled the VAT status at the point of when it was purchased, or avoided it because you purchased it privately. So here you'll see some links here for you to download a few things, and I just want to talk to you about a few things before we finish. Even if you smelt your own silver or gold, it won't automatically, magically become VAT-free. Legal tender coins like the Britannias and Queen Beasts are minted under strict licensing conditions. So for personal stackers, buying scrap privately and smelting it can be one of the cheapest ways and legal and smart strategies to build your precious metal portfolios. Grab the cheat sheet in the description, and if you've enjoyed today's video, I would love for you to like and subscribe to the channel, because I will be sharing more information about how to purchase gold, how to check for the markings, how to test, how to melt the gold down, for example. And if you are a silver or gold stacker, there is also a cheat sheet here, which is a PDF, and it really is something just for you to think about whilst you're growing your business. If you are looking at growing your wealth, for example. So just a few, again, the scenarios will be in the cheat sheets as well for you to download and to really look at whether you're going to be prioritizing buying scrap from private sellers, or I do have a link here where you can buy it from a bullion dealer, silver, gold. I'm an affiliate, so I do get paid a small amount when you purchase from them. They are reputable dealers, for example, JM Bullion, for example. Grab your bonus. There's a free stacker calculator spreadsheet to plan your monthly gold and silver purchases smartly and in fitting with what you can afford at the time as well. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and I also want to say thank you to all of you that's been showing up here live, and for really, liking the comments and liking the videos, as well as commenting on the videos as well. And I really appreciate it, and I want us all to grow, because at the end of the day, there's something that we can do, but we need to act now, because we don't know what our pension is going to be, the full amount, in 5 or 10 years. We could lose a quarter of it because of, the economy. We don't know. So check out my videos on gold and silver, because you can build a strategy for your retirement, and this will help give you a buffer in your retirement, rather than just rely on one thing. For example, whether it's government or whether it is a private pension. Check this out as well, because even if you're buying 1 ounce of silver a month, for example, it is under $35, for example. Imagine what that is in 10 years, for example. And if silver goes up, like everybody is saying, not everyone, specialists are saying, due to the high demand of silver for the manufacturing and the production needs, it's a dual purpose, silver is. So that's going to create that silver to go up. So imagine what that is going to be valued at in 10 years' time. Warren Buffett brought 3,500 tons of silver. He brought it as a hedge, for example, which is what some people do, for example. Also, another gentleman, a billionaire, David Bateman, brought $305 million worth of silver, not gold, but silver, and already is made a profit on top, 60 million profit on top, for example. So why are the banks buying? Why are the banks getting all their silver? Why are these vaults being emptied out, like Lima in London, for example? Because America wanted their gold and silver back. Family offices, they're all wanting their gold and silver. They want it close to where they are. They don't want it, they don't want to see it on paper. They want to have it close to them, so that when they need it, they've got it to hand. Because there seems to be a waiting list, 8 weeks, even 12 weeks to get gold and silver from these vaults, for example. That's why we're still waiting to see what's in Fort Knox. We was meant to see what was in Fort Knox, but nothing has happened there. But the central banks, they're buying gold and silver. They seem to be buying a lot of silver, because they know the demand for silver is a lot stronger, and that it's going to really skyrocket, and it's going to, and according to these experts, it's going to outperform what gold was doing, for example. So, like I said, if you could even just buy a coin or even an ounce of silver just under $35, and do that every month, just one a month, and build that up, and over a 10-year period, you're going to have a lot of silver. That is, like I mentioned, I did a video earlier, in 10 years' time, that silver, for example, can be worth 76,000 pounds, for example, and that is at the low rate. There's the medium rate, it could be 123,000 pounds, for example. And then there's a higher rate, which is 225,000 pounds. Imagine if you did that over a 10-year period. It depends how old you are, of course, or maybe you got a loved one that you could say, here you go, here's your money, down payment for a house, for example. Here's your money for your college fees, for example. Or maybe you want to just treat yourself. You're a pensioner, for example, you want to treat yourself, go on holiday and have this bumper, this buffer of a pension that you already have, that is not just, where you're living from check to check, that you've got an additional amount of money that you can enjoy your life with. You've worked so hard for it. We're seeing the stock markets going up and down, they're crashing. People's pension money is actually in the stocks. So what is the cause and effect going to be from this, with the market crashing all the time? Some pensions are in the office buildings. People are working from home. People are doing remote work from home. So that means these offices are now becoming empty. So a lot of people are pulling out their money out of the office buildings. They're not seeing it as an investment anymore. The best investment is gold and silver, because it stands the test of time. It's been around a lot longer than we have. And there's laws there that it can be used as a monetary system. This is why the governments all around the world, they want their gold and silver back. They're all asking for it back because they used to loan it out to one another for some reason. Now they want it back in their own countries. And that's why we're seeing that the Lima, in London, for example, that their reserves are being drained because people want their gold and silver back. There's family offices. One lady, she brought $50 million worth of silver. Everyone seems to be clued up with this silver, so there's things that we're not aware of that is happening behind the scenes that I am noticing, and you can check this out for yourself, that people, the large government organizations, as well as the banks, the central banks, the reserves, they're all wanting their gold and silver more than cash, because cash is going down in value. We all see that when we go to the supermarket, the price of things, you buy something and you've hardly come out with anything. You're lucky if you've got, 3 bags, and you've probably spent something like £100 on 3 bags of groceries, whereas before you could have a whole trolley full. So you're seeing it for yourself, because of when you use your cash, it's not going very far. It goes so quick, you kind of think, what happened there? What did I spend that on? And now people are getting cheaper things because of the currency, the cash currency, the dollar, for example. So countries around the world, they want to rely on their own currency, and that is gold and silver. This is looking like it's the new monetary system, for example, instead of cash. They're saying cash is trash. If you could just buy just a little bit of silver or gold, whatever it is that you can afford, then use that as your nest egg. Use that and be consistent month after month after month and save. 10 years goes by very fast. Very fast. Even if it's for 5 years, do it. Do it. But they say the terms usually is 7 to 12 years, for example. But like I said, gold and silver, it holds its value. It is like liquid cash. You can't go wrong with it. And this is why the big, large organizations, the very wealthy organizations, they are buying silver. They're not buying much gold. They seem to be buying a lot of silver because they know that the demand is getting scarcity. We all remember when Apple came out, you could only buy one phone, for example, per family member or something, or per household, I can't remember. And the price was high, wasn't it? Well, this is what's going to happen, I believe, with silver, because of the electronic vehicles being highly produced, robots being produced, data centers. You know, Keir Starmer said that UK was going to be the UK's AI superpower, for example. AI takes silver. It's a lot of silver. It's not going to be able to work without silver. So this is why all of these governments are buying silver. So get in now if you can. And especially while the price is low, before it shoots up like how gold has shot up, for example. Because silver, people are saying, the experts are saying, is going to be like gold. So that's why it's important to look at different aspects. And I'm here to try and show you different ways of, you know, purchasing gold and silver, for example. So thank you so much. I hope that you've enjoyed today's discussion about UK retirees, silver tax loophole, because this will help you to build your pension, for example, and it is something which is really needed now, silver. There's not, the silver mines, they've only got about 20 more years of supply, and then they're going to run out of silver. What's going to happen then? I do not know. So that's why you've heard Donald Trump talk about drill baby drill, because they're looking for these new places that they can drill, because even when they find the silver mines, it takes time. It's not something they can just start straight away. They've got to create the right environments, they've got to extract it, they've got to process it. It turns into something. It's not something that is quick and fast and easy. So the race is on. You can see that, you've probably seen there's a lot of EV cars being built. Yeah, every day someone new has built an EV car, electronic vehicle car, for example. Every day we're hearing about AI. Every day we're hearing about data centers. Every day we're hearing about manufacturing in our own towns of where we are, for example, because silver is needed for technology as well, which is what we depend on. So what's going to happen if they do run out of silver? It's going to bring the price right up. Well, it's going to start bringing the price up anyway. The race is on, for example. And then they're going to be wanting to buy possibly your silver, and you've got your silver and you can charge a higher price because they have to buy it somewhere, unless they find another mine, for example, but it has to be in their location. So tell me, what do you think? Are you collecting silver? Are you collecting gold? Are you a stacker? Or are you a retiree and you're going to plan for your retirement? That's one thing I would say, because probably by the time, if you're looking at 10 years time, by the time you get your pension, for example, then it could be 25% less than what you thought it was going to be because of this moment in time. Because, you know, even though no one's really said, right, this is a flat out recession, this looks, smells, walks, talks, and runs like a recession. This is what we're looking at. But no one's really come flat out with it because they don't want to. But this, I believe, because of what's happening, that we are here. They're saying 60% recession. I'm seeing it as a bit more than that. So we need to start planning, and we need to start looking at ways that we can control what we do with our finances. Business is a good aspect. Silver and gold is definitely a good aspect. For example, look, people, you've seen how people have been losing their jobs left, right and centre. You can't even rely on your job anymore. So rely on you and start planning for you and your family, so you've got a backup, so that when you, or if, not saying when, if you get hit by a crisis, you're able to cope. It's not going to knock you for six. We survived, well, most of us survived COVID, and this is, you know, thank God it's not that, for example, but we're going through a transition, and with these tariffs being thrown left, right and centre, stock markets are crashing, people buying a lot of silver, you know, government organisations, central banks, federal reserves, family offices, millionaires, billionaires, everybody, not everybody, but you know, most people are cottoning on to silver. And if you haven't done so yet, I highly recommend that you at least start off with an ounce of silver and do this monthly. My video earlier today was talking about planning monthly, doing a 10-year plan. The video I did yesterday was covering that as well, planning for your retirement, for example, because at the end of the day, we can count on what we do, for example. So I hope that that was clear to you all, and that you're looking at this, and I would love to hear your thoughts about, you know, are you a stacker? Are you, you know, building up silver coins? Are you a stacker? Are you a you know, gold, silver person? Are you buying gold bars, for example, silver bars, for example? Are you going to look at possibly doing scrap gold and silver parties? That's why we also offer that training if you are interested in doing gold and silver parties, for example, to build up your wealth portfolio. Then we do offer that bootcamp training as well. All right, so thank you so much everyone for being here today. I've really enjoyed speaking to you today, and I hope that you've enjoyed what I've had to say today, and haven't you know, sort of come in and not understood. There is some links here, some free resources, downloads for you to to have and to use for your own purposes, for example. And secondly, do watch the previous videos, watch my playlist as well, and learn a bit more if you're new to this. If you're a new beginner with gold and silver, then do watch the videos. And I am going live again tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time. That's 2 p.m. American time, New York, Atlanta time, for example. And I look forward to sharing with you more gold and silver videos. All right, so thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everyone. Take care. Thank you. Bye.